Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Scott, did you not want to finish? Did you get through all of the enhancements yesterday?
We'll finish those up if you don't cover stuff on Friday.
Okay.
But I got a couple tasks. I'll be here listening, but I got the LBL employee ID thing I really need to get working on.
Okay.
So I'm going to have you just go ahead and start with New Year today, and then. But I'll be here listening. If
Hey,
you need
Scott,
anything, just.
Scott, we had the same issue. We had to change all our employee IDs as well because we're hosted by LBL.
Jeannie, I can hardly understand. I think you're on an open mic and there's a huge echo.
I said we had to change all our employee IDs as well because
Yes.
we're hosted by LBL.
Yes, yeah, we know that you're in that group and you will be fixing that up also for you.
Perfect, thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
I didn't hear the issue yesterday with that because we changed ours last year.
If you changed yours last year, Carol, then you don't have anything to worry about, but I will be just checking because the problem wasn't the change that Tyler made. It was I wasn't prepared for it to know that all the employee name IDs would be changing. But if you went through that before we integrated you last year, it's a non-issue. But we'll check your data.
Okay, because it was almost exactly the same time that we started to come on board. Thank you.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Is everyone ready to create a New Year scenario so you can start working? Good. Nobody said yes, so I assume that means yes. So let's talk about creating a New Year scenario. The first thing in creating it is deciding which current scenario you want to create it from. And the reason being is, like, everyone can see my screen. I hope, let me know if not. I'm currently in number 5 modeling here. And I'm going to use that as the basis for my new year, because for you guys, I would assume you'll probably want to be, and you don't have to be in the scenario, but you will probably want it to create it from your adopted scenario because it was the last one you were working in this year. It has all of your current assumptions set up, because whatever scenario you choose as your basis for the new year, it's going to copy forward all of these assumptions that you've already set up. So unless you have another scenario, maybe a working scenario, which we'll talk about in a minute, I doubt anybody has that. But if you do, you might want to use that. If you have a new scenario and you've made any changes to the assumptions, use that. The reason being, it's going to copy all of these assumptions into the new year. I believe that's the only thing, right, Scott, that gets carried over is really just the assumptions, because we're going to reload all the financials, reload all the employees, reload all the salary plans, and any responsibility center structure will get carried over as well. So any questions about which scenario to use as your basis for your New Year scenario? All right, I have a widescreen monitor. Let me know if that's too wide for you guys. I can lower it down. So when you're ready, I guess we're ready to create the scenario. The way to do it is you go to Scenario Explorer. Anybody remembers, you click on this up here, this icon, open Scenario Explorer. Excuse me. Right click on the scenario name, go to create scenario, and you should have a New Year scenario option. 22.
I have a question.
Okay, I'm not sure who that was, but go ahead.
It's Carol, Lincoln
Hi, Carol.
County. Hi. We were using the beta yellow
Yeah, you can use I would use the blue pre-release. They're all the same right now anyway, but we want everybody to be using the blue.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So if I'm in the red,
If you're in the red, that's fine too.
Okay.
That's fine. They're all the same as of right now. Just to
you.
give everybody a heads up on what the different versions mean. The red is usually our most stable release version. And it's usually the older one because it's been used the most, and it's usually the more stable. However, let's say today we find a problem or an issue or something that we want to change or fix. We will make that change or fix and then maybe just do a blue pre-release build. That way we do it, we build it, we get it out there to you guys, and we kind of have it tested and make sure it works before we incorporate those fixes into the red version. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. The red is a little bit more stable. And when I say red, we call it the release version. It's a little bit more stable, but at the same time, it might not have the latest fixes or enhancements to it. So I would generally, it seems like just staying in the blue probably be the best. And then
And
the
Tim,
yellow,
if I get,
yeah, go ahead.
Tim, if I get a connection error when I click on that,
I'm sorry, who is this speaking?
this is Carol again.
Carol, okay, I'm sorry. Connection error.
Says failed to validate enterprise scenario planning service account on server ESP budget.
What database are you on, Carol? Are you on your test or on your?
Well, I don't know.
Okay.
It just won't, I just clicked on the blue and it. So do I click on test?
No, hold on.
She must be trying to access or test it. Well, but I copied everything over to.
Right, but no, that's something on the LBL. That's security.
Well, Carol's with CESD, right?
No, Carol's
No,
with Lincoln
LBL.
County.
Lincoln County. I'm sorry, Carol.
Yeah,
Carol,
LBL is our server.
Carol, would you click the? I'm sorry that we're on team. Do you see you have the connection window open, or is it just a window on the middle of your screen?
It's just a little window on the middle of the screen. Did
Okay.
I click on test?
No, yeah, that's the connection window, Scott, because it has the word test on it. I think she can launch TeamViewer from that.
Yeah, there's a button to launch TeamViewer. Go ahead and launch that, and I'll pick it up, Tim.
Okay, Carol, if you can see my screen, it should be this button right here. Do you see that?
But it's not opening ESP.
No, that's going to launch TeamViewer, and that will allow Scott to see your screen. But do you see that button?
I've got something in the way, I think. Sorry,
It's okay.
I can't see where your cursor is.
You can't see my screen, or you can't see your screen?
I can't see the middle of your screen. I'm sorry, people.
Oh, is it not? Can you not see this on my screen? Okay.
We can just go on. I don't wanna
Okay.
hold
Well,
everything.
Scott will grab you, and we'll figure it out. It's just, I think it's just connecting to the wrong database. He'll grab you in just a minute.
Okay, sorry, folks.
No problem. No problem. So we're going to create the New Year scenario. So right click on the scenario that you want to create from, go down to create scenario. And while we're here, I might as well say, this is also where, when you're ready to start making models, this top line here will be where you go to create your models, which are just copies of whatever scenario you're creating it from. But this time we want to create a New Year scenario. So go down, select New Year scenario 22, 23, click on that. Now, does anybody here have a working scenario? That is a scenario that once you're done with your adopted, you continue to stay in ESP, you create a working scenario and you use it and keep it updated with the latest budget transfers, employee hires, employee transfers. Most people don't really use it for that, but you can, because that would be the scenario you would want to choose to create your New Year scenario. I'm assuming nobody does since I'm not hearing anything. Okay, so you'll get this pop up here, and these are the options to choose that we need to look at before we create the New Year. When creating a New Year scenario, if the scenario is being created, has been updated and maintained, then the scenario can be based on that scenario. But that's the working that we were talking about, because there's a checkbox here that says keep model data from 21-22-5 modeling, which is the one I'm creating it from. If you don't want to keep your, this would copy the model into the New Year model. All right, so unless you have a working scenario and you specifically want to keep your model data, don't check that. If this is not checked, both of these actually, if it's not checked, it's going to basically go to your ERP, Visions or Business Plus, and bring in everything new. It's going to bring in your adopted, bring in your working, and it's going to copy your working into your model, and then it's going to reload all of your employees and copy the employees into the model. That's going to be your starting point. So basically what's happening right now is we're going to take a snapshot of what's in your ERP system, and that's going to be your starting point for your new year. Does that make sense? It's the best way to do it. And then, of course, once the scenario is created, you can always choose to reload your employees or reload your working again, you know, to update things if you want to. But as of right now, when you're creating the new year, we're just going to go basically take a snapshot, and that's going to be your starting point, because everything from the ERP, your ERP system, is going to get copied into the model. Make sure that you have the right database selected. Scott talked about this yesterday. It should be your 21-22 database. And
So I have a question, Tim. This is Beth.
thank you.
So when I look at my database options, it just says adopted, current, prior, actual. So I just pick the adopted. Is that correct?
Scott, any input on that? I would think so.
Sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Ask that again, please, Beth.
Yeah, so I'm just looking at which database, and I'm assuming I pick adopted as opposed to current, prior, actual.
She's Business Plus.
Right. Yeah, just pick the default, which is your current. You only have one database, so.
Okay, there's a lot of choices under that. Just leave it to say default then.
Correct. Yeah, that's what we talked about yesterday. Inside of the Business Plus database, there are a series of budget columns, just like you can create in Visions. But I would just take the default on those.
Okay, thank you.
One thing I don't know if Scott mentioned yesterday, the one that does get set as default will have this asterisk next to it. And it should be the one that shows up in the list, but whichever one ESP is set as the default has an asterisk next to it.
None of them have asterisks. It just lists, I think there's 8 options besides default.
Okay, well, go ahead and select they adopted, and if you check that box, I think it'll put the asterisk next to it. So next time it will have the asterisk.
Okay.
Okay, so here's something we need to talk about, and this is called annualized employees. Those of you familiar with ESP knows that you can annualize the employees, which basically takes their work days and annualizes them out to a full year. It looks at either the position or their work calendar, whatever you have assigned to them. And it will, because if they're hired mid-year this year, you want to obviously budget for them the full year for 22-23. You don't want to just partial year. But you might want to, when you create this scenario, if you want to double check your FTE that's created and copied over, because you can always choose to annualize later, or you can do it now. It's up to you, because it's going to affect the FTE of employees. Well, actually, for most of you, it might not, because I believe most of the Oregon districts use work hours, which is not affected by it does not affect FTE. I think, Beth, you might be the only one where you use, where you use work time, which is hours times days.
Correct.
That'll give you a higher FTE than what's currently in Business Plus if you decide to annualize right now. You can always choose to annualize later. I would say for most of you Oregon districts with visions, if you're using work hours as your FTE, go ahead and annualize, because this will not affect your FTE. So I'm going to go ahead and annualize because I know I'm pulling from a visions database. Any questions about annualization?
No, this is Sean, though. I have a question. In regards to my Infinite Visions database.
Yep.
The one that pops up with an asterisk for me, and the only one that is, it shows gaps test provisional database. That's
Okay.
not the database that I have in Infinite Visions.
Okay, then yeah. What about do you have the ones that you do have in Infinite Visions there?
No.
What do you see there then?
Well, in ESP, I see basically all the databases except for the one that I need.
Oh, interesting. Okay, we'll have to look under the covers in a minute and see why it's not showing up. Do you have the? I know Scott mentioned this yesterday about the start and end date correctly set
In what?
in Visions.
I'd
You
have
might
to
not
go-
know the answer to that. So
Yeah, I would have assumed so, but I've only been
Right.
here for a couple
Can you
months.
remind me where the start and end date in Visions is? Is that in the general ledger configuration?
I'm not sure. We'll have to ask Scott. I don't know. You guys have to remember, we don't have any access to Visions, not even like a play or test. So a lot of times we're not quite sure exactly where to navigate to do things.
Yeah, and that's where it is in. It's in general ledger configurations, and there's a general ledger default settings. And my fiscal start dates are correct, and end date.
Okay. Okay, Sean, we'll have to look at that in a little bit.
Okay.
So if you want to, even if you don't have a right one, we can go ahead and create this just for just so we can continue the training. And you can always delete these and recreate. There's no problem with doing that. Or as well, like I said, once you have it created, Jeannie, I believe I told you yesterday, when you created yours, the working did not get copied into the model. You can always just reload and copy into the model once the scenario is already created.
I actually deleted that one this morning and I'm recreating right now because I did not annualize and I want to. So
Okay.
I deleted this morning.
Okay, all right, yeah, that works.
Right now.
That works too. So I'm going to go ahead. Any questions before I click create? It's going to take about 10 minutes to create. Any questions before we move on? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and create. You guys can go ahead and create as well.
I do have a question. So there's the checkbox that says keep model data from the one that I right clicked on and said create new. But it's going to do that anyway, right? Whether or not I check that box.
Yeah, I now that I think about that, that's not worded really well, I don't think. It doesn't mean the assumptions. It means like the financials and the employees. Is that what you're asking about? It's about the assumptions that's going to get carried over?
Well, I guess I'm just wondering, so we're creating a new, we're basically copying it from our adopted budget last year. And I guess I'm thinking it is going to keep the model data.
Well, no, it's going to get rid of the model data. It's going to reload your new working, your 21, 22 working, and copy that into the model.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
If you check that, it won't do that because it's assuming that you've been keeping it up to date already.
Okay,
So most of you do not want to check these.
thank you.
These keep. It is kind of worded wrong. It should be just the financials and the employees, but it will carry over your assumptions if you did check that. But anyway, most of you do not check that, either one of these. And I'm going to go ahead and annualize as well. And then you got to enter a note real quick. Remember, most of these notes you'll never see again. You can double click in there. It will put your last note in there. But at the same time, you might see it again and wonder, what you were doing. If you guys are not seeing this process log, I would suggest you always have it showing. And the way to do that, and I'm not sure if we can do it right now, is if you go to view in the main window here, the main ESP window, go to view, show log when applying, check that. All right, so that should be checked. And now every time you save and apply, this log will pop up. I like to see it because then I know, okay, ESP is still working. It's doing something behind the scenes. If there are errors or action messages, this log will pop up anyway at the end. But I like to have it up, and that way I can know ESP is doing something in the background and not stuck. Or there's supposed to be a ding, like a bell at the end when it's done doing something. But I think most of you on Visions, the audio doesn't come through. They don't allow the audio to come through. So sometimes you don't know when it's finished doing something. So things to be start thinking about is really on these assumptions tab, because you're going to start going through all of these calculations, all of these inflation groups, the medical benefit plans, is start finding out about changes that you're going to have to make, changes to the rates, any new payroll calculations we're going to have to add or get rid of. So you got a little bit of information gathering you'll have to do. And remember, this is going to be the first scenario in the new year. And we want to make it as complete as possible because it's going to be the basis for all of the other scenarios in this year going forward. So the more work you can do in this scenario, if you want to add a new calculation and it's going to be there, add it in this new year scenario so that all the future scenarios for 22, 23 will already have it in there. Sean, would you be able to, when you get a chance, send me a screenshot of that database list if you could?
Yes. Do you want me to send it in an email or?
Yeah, email would be good. Do you have our email, right? support@espaccess.net. That reminds me, guys, I go over something I try to tell everybody when I get a chance. When you send us screenshots, like if I'm taking a screenshot here, like don't take it just of the process log. Like if I wanted to send a process log, send the entire ESP screen, because we need to see things such as the database name down here, which tab you're on, which version. You can see you have the version. I'm in the beta version up here. There's a lot of information that we need. And when we're trying to help you guys, the more information we can have, the better. And a picture says 1,000 words. So when you take screenshots, please include the entire screen. Don't crop it anyway. Send the entire screen.
Tim, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Carol. All right, bye-bye. No, Carol, we were on the phone. We were curious why it was quiet.
Oh, so quiet. Okay. Yeah. I don't know if you heard Sean at Reynolds. He wasn't seeing his 21-22 database. Are you still there, Scott?
Yeah, Sean's at Albany.
Right. Albany, yes. He's going to send us a screenshot of what. Yeah, and I had him check the start and end dates. He said they were there.
Okay.
Correct.
All right, I can check that. Getting an echo all of a sudden.
What?
Yeah, it could be I have TeamViewer running.
Yep.
Get rid of that. There we go. All right. Let me check Albany's database list. So while these are running, and I'm looking at Albany's database list, it is on my list to speed up the scenario, explore loading times. Yeah, I know it's really, really slow. So Sean, are you still there? Can you unmute?
Yep.
So did you, I see in your scenario explorer, it looks like you did try to start the 22, 23, and it's showing incomplete. Is that correct?
Um,
It might still be running.
it's probably still running. Yeah.
Okay, did you find the 20 GAPS 2022 database?
No.
It was,
I just-
Sorry, Scott. I had him go ahead and create one just for testing, playing.
oh, okay.
But he never did find it. I don't believe.
And Sean, are you in the test database?
That's the one I'm running. Well,
It should, it says ESP GAPS _ test in the bottom status line.
If you look on my screen, it's down here.
yeah, no, this one says ESP GAPS production, PRD.
Oh,
I assume it's production.
Okay, yeah, I actually see GAPS 2022 in the Infinite
Well, yeah,
Vision.
but that's not the database name in Infinite Visions. So maybe it's different because the database name in Infinite Visions is GAPS _ FY 21-22.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Scott, he just sent an email with a picture from Visions, what it looks like in Visions.
Okay, yeah. Let me look. I'm on their server. Let me see what databases are actually out there. Well, remember, Sean, yesterday there is no GAPS. There is no GAPS in that format. It looks like the last time that format was used was 16, 17. Because in 17, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20, 21, and now 22, they're using just GAPS _ and then the fiscal year 2022. So that, and this was, remember when I talked first thing yesterday about how user named or user defined names, it was getting so hard to track which databases were which. And that's essentially why we had to go with the drop-down list and let you guys select your fiscal years, because there is no constraints in the Infinite Visions app. And this is why, because midstream in 2016, 17, somebody changed the standard of how they were creating their databases. So from what I can see in the database server, GAPS _ 2022 is your 2022 database.
Oh, okay.
And it's unfortunate that Tyler didn't constrain the database naming to where it was machine interpretable, but it is what it is. We have to adapt. So yeah, and that is there. I'm not sure what GAPS test RA must be Russ created something.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure what PV provisional.
Provisional, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and so when that gets done, and it says incomplete on Scenario Explorer on my side, which means it is running. So you should be good to go. I guess Tim, as soon as they all complete, you can show them how to delete.
Yeah.
And one thing to note, Tim talked about everything that's copied over, or what is updated in a new year and what is maintained. You know, all the assumption calculations, pay components, all that stuff, but is maintained from the originating scenario. But whenever we create a new year, there's a lot of lookup tables that are fiscal year based that get copied from, in this case, 2022 into 2023. If you delete the last scenario in a fiscal year, like assuming Sean's going to delete this new year scenario that he's creating, the scenario, the the delete scenario will see that there are no more scenarios in the fiscal year 2023, and it will delete all of those lookup tables and all that other lookup data that it copied for the fiscal year 2023. So you'll essentially go back to where you were, like 2023 never existed, and then you can do the process over again. So just a little background on that. Okay, so Sean, it looks like you're good to go. We just had some confusion on the database naming, which I'm there with you. I totally understand.
So I missed that. He should be able to see it now, or he knows
No,
which one to.
it was there. He was just looking for it in a different format.
Okay.
So, okay.
So Sean, let me
And-
know when you're when it's finished, and I'll tell you how to delete it.
Is everybody else working okay? Do I need to help anybody else? Carol, are you still running? Mary
Yeah,
Ann?
I'm only at 12 minutes, so I'm well behind you
Okay.
guys.
Marianne, are you actually doing this or just watching?
I'm doing it. Mine's done.
You have
Yeah.
a pretty small database. so
Right.
that's
I was going to
cool.
say the
Yeah.
smaller districts will have a quicker.
Okay, sweet. Okay.
So Mary Carnegie, I'm assuming yours is still running as well because you and I are pulling from the same database.
Yep, I'm still clicking along.
All right. So mine just got to here. If you look at my process log, reload. Now I'm reloading the employees. And if you look, if I can stop it, see, this is where these dates are important. Fiscal year 22, 23. And these start and end dates are really important for ESP. We key off those dates as to know which employees to pull over. And then we bump everything a year. And normally, from what I've experienced, a lot of times you're going to see action items or warnings because we're grabbing what we talked about yesterday. We grabbed everything from Visions or Business Plus, and people make mistakes, or they don't fill things out right, or they don't close positions. A lot of times we're going to have employees with more than 1.0 FTE because they're in a new position this year and their old position didn't get cleared or closed, so it pulls over both positions into ESP. So usually there's a lot of cleanup that needs to be done. And you might have to reload your employees numerous times.
So will this process log say end at some point, or does it just stop?
It will
Because
say,
mine-
I think it says process finished at the
Okay,
very
because
end.
mine is just died like 10 minutes ago at creating note.
Okay, the creating note, I think is the last one then, yes. And you
Okay.
should see a timer. If you guys notice here, there's a timer. Mine's still counting. Yours should be stopped counting.
Correct.
Mine just disappeared.
No, it's there somewhere. Oh, actually, it might have closed once it's finished.
And mine just stopped and then it opened up the 22, 23 model.
Right. If I should have talked about that. If you guys noticed, there was a checkbox to open it when it's finished. So when it's finished, it will close this scenario and open the New Year scenario.
So do we close the scenario?
Explorer.
Explorer?
No, well, you can leave that open for a minute because we're going to talk about that.
Okay.
But for you guys that are finished, go ahead and like look at your financials and, you know, just start doing some of that verification that the general fund values look like what you expect, the working column, you know, the working should be copied into your model. Now it's not going to be an exact copy for the salary accounts, because remember, those are being rolled over from the employees tab. We actually calculate those in ESP. So that will not be a 1-for-1 match. Should be fairly close, but double check that your FTE seems about right. Your salary plans, the salary plans you expect to see are right. When ESP is doing something, we do try to give you limited capability to maybe switch tabs, but it might be a little slow. I would recommend when you're verifying these numbers, put your scope at fund by object and sum under the object. I'm not sure if I can do it while it's still running. Let me try. And that'll give you a nice clean look. So I'm gonna move the object just under the fund. I'm gonna sum, so I'm gonna only have the fund and object, everything else summed. Click OK. Of course, I'm still in my old scenario, last year's scenario. As you can see now, my grid is laid out fund by object. So if I look at 100, you can see all of you. Hopefully this FTE is what you expect to see for your licensed, classified, administrators, and any other salary accounts, roll-up salary accounts you have. This is a good way to look at it, fund by object. And this total FTE that you have up here should, if you annualize, it's going to be a little bit higher. Well, again, this is depending on how you calculate FTE, because you're going to have your working column here, and then you're going to have this get copied into the model. But these salary accounts, they roll over from the employees tab. We brought in the employees, we calculated all of their rates based on the salary plans and the assumptions, and then that's copied, that's created and put in the model. Man, still rolling. If you'll notice over here on the left, these icons here, the ones that are colorized for the salaries, these get rolled up. These are we call salary roll-up accounts. They roll up from the employees tab. So these values, that's why it's in the calculated total column. These values come from the employees tab. It's the same icon, but it's black and white. These are salary accounts, but they're non-FTE They're not tied to FTE. They're just budgeted here on the financials tab. That's why they're in the fixed amount column. And then these other ones with the little green plus, and I don't see any other ones here. These are the supplemental pay that is split off. It goes to its own object, but it comes from the employees tab as well. And then down here, the ones with the little cog icon, these are the payroll fixed cost calculations. And these are calculated on not just the roll-up salaries, but also these other lump sum salaries. And then the rest are just your fixed budget items. And this icon here, which we can talk about in a minute, this is an inflation group where we say, okay, we want to take electricity, fuel, water and sewage, and garbage, and we want to apply like a 3% inflation on it. And you tell it, I want to take, well, we can go look at it real quick, but it probably says, I want to take what was in the working, add 3% and put it in the model. That number's the same. I don't know about this scenario. I haven't really worked in this scenario. I'm not sure what it's done, but if you go to the assumptions tab, you can see under these object groups here, here's that utilities group as a 3.5%. And these are those groups that we saw on the financials tab. And you say inflation group, the source column is, it's what I thought it was, take the working and then add 3.5%. We had a district the other day, they added every single object, like 300 to 900 in this group and put an inflation on it. So you could do that if you wanted to, if you want to just inflate the entire budget by 3%. You can pick and choose whichever objects you want to inflate. You could also deflate as well. Am I still going? Okay, sorry about this. I had no idea mine would take this long.
Can you remind me how to show my adopted column from this current year?
Yeah. Now remember, whenever you want to show a column, the first question you have to ask yourself is which data set is it in? Which data set is the adopted in? It's in the Infinite Visions. Was that Beth or Carol or who? I'm not sure who
It's
said
Carol.
that. Carol, right. Right. So it might not let me add right now, but if you right click, go to your Infinite Visions data set, it won't let me right click right now because it's still working. You should see your adopted under your Infinite Visions data set. There'll be a little sub menu will pop up to the right. You see that?
Okay, update column now.
No. Right click on the on a column heading. I wish I could. It won't let me do it.
Yeah.
And
So
then
I
go
right
down.
clicked on working.
Okay, it doesn't matter where you right. I mean, the only thing about right clicking is where it's going to add the column. So right click, go down to where it says data sets. You'll see the model, and then you'll see Infinite Visions, and then it'll say Infinite Visions Daily. It's about middle of the group. It's in a little subsection called data sets.
Yeah.
Okay. You are on the financials tab, right? There you are, because you said working.
Yes.
Okay. Did you find it?
Oh, so. No. Okay, when I click, or when I hover over infinite visions under data sets, what am I looking for?
Adopted.
I don't see anything like that. Oh, adopted, just the word adopted.
Right. There should be an alphabetical order. Am I the only one? Probably me and Mary, the only ones still going.
No, Beth is still going.
Okay.
And mine just finished. This is Mary.
Okay, good. Maybe mine will follow suit. It could be
Hey,
this.
oh.
Yeah. Go ahead, Scott.
Very well. While we're waiting, I saw the email between your IT department about the cloud identity login.
Yes.
Can you send me Mark's email address? What I'd like to do is I'll temporarily create an account for him so he can actually connect and see what we're seeing and see if we can resolve it just with him and I. Because if I can get him in, then I can get you in. So,
I sure can.
okay, thanks.
Well, I already see issues because my adopted total at the top is not our adopted budget. Carol again.
Okay. In your scope, you do have your scope open. You're not limited in your scope. Because if you just have, a center in there or objects in there, you're not looking at your full adopted.
No, I use the eraser with the asterisk on it.
What about your working? Is your working correct?
It doesn't look right either, but that could have something to do with the way we input our grant budgets. Shouldn't.
And you have to remember, when there's no filter up here, we're looking at only expenses. And if you want to add fund balances or revenue, you open your scope up and you have these check boxes here. I could just change this to revenue fund balance. By default, if there's nothing's checked, it's expenses. But if you change it, it will added fund balance and revenue. Notice now I have a filter. I'm looking at fund balance and revenue accounts. Now I've got all negatives in there. And then if I want to add the expenses in there. So if you want to see really the full budget, you've got to check all three.
Okay, well, I see the problem. Fund balance wasn't checked, but expenditure was.
Okay, yeah, that happens quite a bit. And hopefully when you add all three in there, you should have a 0 at the top. Everything should be balanced for your adopted and working. So notice I added fund balance, revenue, and expenses, and my working up here, everything adds up to 0, which is what we expect. Still going, 40 minutes. Did I said 10 minutes, didn't I? I lied. Probably should have done this before we started. Well, at least the next group won't have to wait through this. Just you guys. But anyway, while I'm still cooking, everyone please, start looking things over. The financials, employees.
So,
I would imagine some of you guys had some action items at the end of your process log. One thing you might want to do is if you still have your process log open and there are a bunch of action items, you can save it to a spreadsheet so that you don't lose any of those. You can always recalculate the scenario again, and you can get those back because it does the audit, and the audit is what brings those items up.
How do I get that process log back?
This toolbar button right here, the little cog wheel, should bring it up. But if you've ran another process since then, you'll get that one. It's only the last one.
hmm. So Tim, this is Beth. I noticed I had some red at the end, but the log closed up right away. And I hit that little wheel you just showed and it started loading it, but now that's gone too.
Okay,
Oh,
red.
wait, it's there. Sorry, it's there.
Same
Red.
thing happened to me. It opened a box and then it disappeared.
Well, Mary, you and I should have the same one. Sometimes you guys say it disappears, but it's usually just going behind one of the windows. And don't forget,
Right.
you can use this window toolbar menu here. And notice I see process log here. It'll bring it back to the front.
Yeah, I think mine really just closed because I looked in that window. It doesn't list it. It's not there.
Okay.
Tim, one of the things that why yours is taking longer than Mary's did is we've configured the responsibility centers. We haven't done that in her database yet. So adding the responsibilities does add some overhead because it has to maintain the totals of all the different responsibility centers. Beth, if you want to click the life preserver up in the upper left and start Team Viewer, I'll take a look. Or actually, upper right, I can actually go to the app server and peek. Let me see. You don't have to start Team Viewer.
Well, if she says she had red, that means red is usually an error. And that's
Yeah.
definitely something we need to look
I
at.
I thought it said action item. Maybe I'm colorblind. It was a different color at the end. And I thought
Right.
it said action items, but it just flashed so quick. I didn't get a chance to look.
Right. Well, normally or supposedly, theoretically, if you do get red errors, it generates an email and sends us an email because that's something we need to look at. And as of right now, I don't see an email yet. So it might have just been action items. I think mine's coming to the end because I think it's just doing the final recalculation.
Beth, go ahead and refresh your Scenario Explorer for me.
Is the,
No,
sorry,
right
it's
here.
right here?
Yep.
Do what with it?
Just click it. There you go.
Okay, gotcha.
Scott, I'm wondering if maybe because it opens the new scenario, maybe it closes the process log.
It could, but yeah. Okay, so
watch
there
for
it is. Then
Here's
Beth,
my action items.
click the window right here. No, it must have closed the process log. Okay, click on Scenario Explorer to bring that back up, and then you clicked here. Let me see what it does.
Yeah,
Oh, look at that. And now slide this aside. Can you just grab the title at the top bar right here?
I was trying.
Okay. All right. Now,
I don't know.
oops, there it was.
Yeah, here, let's, oh, where'd the whole thing go? Down there? There
Click
we
window
are.
again, there. Now, click this word wrap button right here. Okay, now go all the way to the bottom. Creating note. Grab the thumb there and scroll it up. Let's see if we,
It was the very last thing.
oh, they were action items. Yeah, okay. They actually should be purple, not red. Okay, scroll up. Oh, go ahead and scroll. I just want to see. Yeah, okay, so look, yeah, there's the action items. Interesting, Tim, her action items are showing in red instead of purple, so they probably did occur. So you've got some employees.
Probably more than one FTE. That's
Well,
usually
this
my
says they're
issue.
not in the salary roll-up group.
Oh,
So we can take a look at those. Another way to get that back.
How do you
And-
run the audit again?
Right.
Um,
So that's what I was going to do. So
Yeah.
close this from the employee grid. So if you click on your employee grid, and if you guys don't want to follow along,
I
just
got
in
errors.
here.
the employees. You got an error there, Tim?
Yep.
What was it? An assumption?
Yeah, see, it looks like it does, Scott. It closes the process log when
When it opens? Okay.
when it opens the New Year scenario. Yep. So that's something
And I
we'll,
just got kicked out.
Who did?
Carol. I'm loading again. It just shut me out.
all right, let me see. Mine's finished. Let's see if I can bring my process log back up. There we go. So I was able to bring my process log back up. It did close.
Yeah, I wrote that down.
Okay.
So Beth, and
Yes.
if you want to see what was in the action items for your employees, if from the employees tab, if you click on tools, and then not show audit validations. Nope, that's it's under employees. I'm sorry, employees, audit employees. So it's tools, employees, audit employees. Go ahead and click that, and click just validate. There, see, now they're coming in purple like I was expecting, but I saw them, they were red. Oh, it actually, and then so click on the window and bring that back forward, process log. Okay, click OK. That just tells you that they're action items.
Oh,
And then
yeah,
Mac-
mine are red too. Yeah.
In the process log. Yeah, but if you run the audit, they're purple. So and I'm looking at Beth's screen, so if all of you are really confused, that's why. So this is the employee status is different. Oh, because they're on leave. I thought I had taken that. Well, this is actually a note, Beth, not an action item. It's just telling you you've got a bunch of people on leave. Okay. The action items, and that's the difference between a note and an action item. I'm looking at Beth's employees, and they have a employee status for leave. And if they're on leave, typically their salaries and or benefits or something is different with their pay, but they're still tracked as employees and positions in the system. And so when we do the employee audits, we just want to remind you that you have a group of employees that are on leave. So that could be impacting your budget, so where they're not in the budget. So, and then Beth, let's see, your object, which is your object? The last item, so 2267.
Yes,
Those are not normally salary roll-up accounts, I don't believe. But I would need to look. But there's a bunch of them. And then here's here's employees with FTE. They have FTE but no salary, no pay. And these are just little anomalies that we're detecting, because normally if you have an FTE, have an employee or a position that has FTE, you would expect to see salary or some type of total pay.
mhm,
So there's those. Now scroll back up to the top, and then here is total salary FTE. These are the ones that
are more than one FTE.
more
Right,
than
you
1.0
can-
FTE.
You can see on my screen, everyone, that I've got some more than one FTEs, like Garrett 2.0. And this is probably, I would guess, somebody that they moved.
Well, actually, Tim, the answer is right there, because you see two records for Garrett Jalesma. You can see she's got a salary plan code of 1.3.5 and a salary plan code of 25.6.15. What that tells me is that there was a plan change, a promotion, or some other change. It looks like they went from one position to another, and the dates are either overlapping or they didn't properly close one position and open another. So
Right.
that's,
And there's
and
two,
I know
two
that
different account
Visions,
codes.
the best practices Visions is that when you do change, you see, I don't put the position number there, do I? No, just the ID. So that's, that's something again in Visions. Now, if you were to go to the employee grid and find her, you could right click on her, look at Infinite Vision details, and probably get the whole story. And you can do all of that without having to open up Infinite Visions, or in your case, Beth, Business Plus. So these 2267, Beth, minimize this.
Real quick, what are the, this non-salary roll-up employees? What is their issue?
Well, go ahead and
They have
normalize
FTE and no,
2267.
salary, gotcha.
Go to your assumptions.
down here, sorry.
So everyone, just quick show you guys something. So I'm looking for an employee. Last name was JELL something. Since my scope is a full scope here, I know she's in this grid somewhere, and a quick way to find an employee is Control F. It's still refreshing, just a second.
Okay, scroll up, Beth. Oh, here's the
Control
roll-up accounts
F.
here. So scroll
I
down.
can just start typing in JELL.
So see what is?
There we go.
Now I know that Tim, it looks like you and Beth, I'm sorry, I'm going to bounce back and forth a little bit.
That's fine.
Tim, you selected the annualized employees when you
Yes.
did this.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Now there's a strategy to think about if you're going to annualize your employees when you create your New Year scenario. If you're going to go through and vet or validate that your model employees are matching your Infinite Visions or your Business Plus, your blue columns, you don't want to annualize in your fiscal base until you've verified and are happy with the load, and that you've got a good fiscal base and you understand the differences between the blue columns and the green columns. Now, if you don't care, if you're just going to move forward with whatever you load, you can go ahead and annualize. But if you are going to take a step and you want to validate what got loaded in the green columns and what's in the blue columns, then you don't really want to annualize, because it's gonna take. You can see this Jennifer Jacobs here on. I can't point on Zoom.
Jennifer J. Yeah, the little green
The
arrow.
little
here.
green arrow means she was annualized, so it moved her work days to a full year. And if you look over in the blue columns, they were 156.
And
you
now
can see-
182.
Yeah. So, and that's going to change both the FTE and her salaries. It's going to change pretty much everything associated with her total wages. So you just have to be, you have to kind of think about how you're going to proceed. If you want to validate your model columns against your Infinite Visions or Business Plus columns, you don't want to annualize when you create your new year. Once you're happy with your fiscal base, run the employee recalc, click the annualize flag, and then it will do all that for you.
So here's
Does
the
that make-
calculate. Yeah. Yeah, I explained that earlier today when we
Okay.
were creating the new year. And then I was saying, if you want to annualize later, click recalc here. And you have the option to annualize employees if you didn't do it.
Beth, scroll up a little bit.
Now, here's what's interesting for me, Scott. I can't find this
Oh, here.
employee, Garrett Jalisima.
That's it's because of the sterilization.
Oh, that's
the log isn't sterilized, but the employees are.
Right.
So you have to look at it by employee ID 902-378.
78. I think we can do a fine by that.
Right.
Tim, this is Mary. I think I saw she was in another fund and all you've chosen is general fund here.
Right. So even though we use Reynolds data for this test database, we change all the names because we use it for like a demo. That's why I can't find this person. I forgot we did that.
And I'm
But I
working
can-
on logic that'll actually clean the log too, so that we don't expose anybody's name.
Right. But I can do a find employee and I can do a search based on employee ID. The ID being 902-378. And I'm going to do a wild card because there might be some. Okay, so it did keep the last name, Scott. It just changed the first name to Garrett.
That might be true.
But anyway, notice that now that I have this employee here, they have this red exclamation mark because the FTE is 2.0. One position at 1.0, one position at 1.0 for a total of 2.0. And I believe when you see the red exclamation mark, you can put the cursor there. And I thought it popped up and told you what is causing. Has multiple fundings, yeah, invalid total salary FTE. And what Scott was talking about, you can take a live look into visions. You can right click and click on Infinite Vision Details. And this is a live look into visions. You can see it put that employee's ID in the search. And this is a live look into visions. And why it says Sean Hale, I don't know, 902-378. Something's going on with this employee. Mary,
So that's the real name. I'm going to sterilize. I've got to sterilize that also.
oh, okay. All right. So he has two positions and they're both still they're both still active. So that's why, and they're both 1.0, 8 hours. That's why ESP has said.
Now, wait a minute. Tim, look at the Workday's contract and look at the positions. Look at the position start and end dates.
So it looks like ended October.
He was a TOSA and then he got converted. So yeah, his position end was 10-1, so that position just wasn't closed. Now he's an assistant principal.
Right.
Does that make sense, Mary?
Yep, it sure does.
Okay.
Does anybody else
So
have a
those-
question? Yeah.
Those are the things that the whole new year process is designed to take care of and identify anomalies or irregularities in your staffing.
So
Yeah, I
this
don't-
is, Scott, this is Mary. So if we don't want to annualize, we should go and delete that scenario and start over?
I think you would have to, wouldn't you, Scott? I mean,
Yeah, but you don't know what you can actually do is copy the employees over again without annualizing. Tim
Right.
show them how to do that.
Okay, so I did a search for this employee ID. Notice the grid and the scope. I'm only looking at that employee. And once I'm done with this, if you click this reset context, it will get rid of, erase that and put me back into the scope that I had. And let me show you guys one other thing real quick regarding how to show the employees while we're talking about it. There's a right-click show all, which you'll probably need while you're doing this employee validation. So the little blue, red and blue dots, that means they have more than one funding in the model. And if you want to see, if I wanted to see all of Garrett Jelsma's fundings, you can right click on an employee and say show all. This basically does the same thing as that search. It just changes your grid and shows you all of their funding. So that's something you might want to use because they might not be next to each other in that list because they might have another funding in another fund or account code. You know, they might not be next to each other. So that's another way to see all of the fundings for one employee. And the same thing, click the clear to get rid of that. So the show all is important when you want to look at everything that's going on with one particular employee. So Mary, I'm going to show you how to show everybody how to copy the employees. So Mary, she annualized, right, which moved all of the work days in the model to match the position work days. And that's why you'll notice I put a delta column here to compare these two columns, and all of these people that were raised up, you can see they also have the little green arrow. They were annualized. This person came in at 142, but her position is 260. So that we account, so because this is going to affect her rate, and you want to make sure you're budgeting for a full year. So what we're going to do right now is to one way to get rid of the annualization is to we're just going to recopy the infinite visions into the model. And to do that, while you're on the employees tab, go to tools, copy clear scenario data, copy all employees. You could do it by scope too, if you wanted to, or you could do just one employee as well. But I want to copy all the employees, and that will copy it. The top one, copy all scenario, that would be your financials as well. But we want to do just the employees. Copy all employees. But be very careful about the copies, because if I've done any work in the model, it's going to overwrite that work. Oh, I was supposed to get
And Tim, this is Mary. Ideally, the changes should be being made in visions, and I'm copying them back over because they won't get captured otherwise, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, you can fix it in the model, in the ESP if you wanted to, but I would, you probably want to have it fixed in visions. I mean, as long as it's right in the model, that's really all you care about, is that it's right in the model. Because remember, if it's fixed in visions, you're going to have to reload your employees, because this blue column will not change even when it's fixed in visions unless you reload the employees back into ESP. All right. I'm not sure what happened here. Supposed to get a pop-up, I thought.
Beth, do you get a scroll bar on that window?
No,
Oh,
Really?
it popped up on my other screen. Here it is. So here's
I
that
can-
cop.
I can roll it.
So here's the copy all employees. You are
All
about
the
to
selected ones are at the top. I'm sorry, Tim.
It's okay. You're about to overwrite your model employee data, full scope, right? Because you could limit your scope and just copy a group of employees. I mean, you're given some options here. You could annualize again. Well, we don't want to do that because that's the whole purpose. And since we're copying all the employees, you can just leave all of these defaults. It really doesn't matter because when we built this scenario, we copied all the employees. So we're just going to do the same thing. Copy. All right, I'm not going to do it, but Mary, if you want to do it, did you see that? How to do it?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Basically, nothing should change for Mary except her work days in the model will go back to the same work days that came in from visions. Now, let's say Mary goes and over to HR and has those positions closed that should have been closed. The only way to get that into ESP is she has to reload the employees. She would have to, and to do that, you go to Tools, Employees, Reload Employees. So it's possible you guys might have to do this with your new year multiple times as you get things fixed in Visions or Business Plus. So you click on Reload Employees. And it's just going to make sure that it's selecting the right database again. Now, this is the one that you should be interested in, copy to model and recalculate. This will, you probably do want to do this right now, is this would reload the employees into the blue columns and then in the same process, then copy them into the model. So it's doing really two steps at once for you. Don't worry about these lookups. These are if you changed any of the lookup tables or schedules in Visions and you needed to reload those. You could do that with these checkboxes. So if changes are made in your ERP and you want to bring them into ESP, you have to ask yourself, do I want to bring them just into the blue columns or do I want to go ahead and bring them into the model? If you do want to bring them into the model, go ahead and select copy to model and recalculate. So it will go to the employees. It'll wipe out basically all of the employees tab, reload the employees into the blue columns and then copy them into the model. And they would not be annualized. There is no annualization. Maybe we should add that, Scott, to this this form if you wanted to annualize.
Is that reload?
Oh, yeah, employees.
Oh, copy to model. Actually, I added it already to the.
I know it's in the copy.
Oh wait,
yeah.
no, I did. I have already added it to that.
Oh,
Working
okay.
with Tim Bellinger, we decided that it should be there. So.
But you might want to copy and not annualize too. So
Correct. In the next build that I do, the option will be grayed out, just like keep model budgeted positions, budgeted vacant positions. There will be another option to annualize employees, so you can do it when you do the copy.
Okay.
And also when you this is reload. Yes. Yeah. I already have done that.
And when you reload the employees, it also reloads the salary plans as well. That's correct, Scott? It reloads all the salary plans?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And the reason it has to reload the salary plans, it'll reload positions, the positions lookup table and salary plans, is you might have new employees that rely on those tables.
Right. Any questions? All right, this is really important to understand about how the employees got here and annualization and being copied into the model. Please ask questions if you have any, because I get a lot of questions about this stuff. Now, and I get asked a lot, just for verification, as long as you don't select copy to model, it will only reload into the blue columns. It will not overwrite your model. I know people get kind of nervous, especially once you get deeper into your budget season. You don't want to overwrite anything in your model. And we almost always, whenever something like copy to model is selected, we'll give you another pop-up warning and say, are you sure you want to copy your model? So always be aware when you're copying to the model that you are overriding anything that you've done. So this would reload all the employees, and there's no way to reload just individual employees or group employees. It would be all of the employees. We don't have a way of reloading just individual employees yet.
And that's a yet.
Yeah. Right. And just to show you guys again, because it was kind of an important thing, you know, as you're doing this, so here's another exclamation mark, right? So I can put my mouse cursor over here. Sometimes I think you have to click to get it to pop up. So again, she's invalid FTE, multiple fundings, and you can see one funding, 8 hours, 6 hours, probably again, her total FTE 1.75. You can always right click and say Infinite Vision Details. Click on Infinite Vision Details, and it's a live look in Visions. That way you don't have to switch over to Visions to look this employee up. And it should give you the pertinent information that you need. So it's actually, she had 3 positions. One of them is closed, but 2 of them are open. And that's why.
And look at the position dates on that.
Yeah. And if you look at the dates, start. It was this one. Right. So
actually, that's what we consider a segmented position. Because you can see from September 6th to the 23rd, she's whatever that position was.
Cover driver.
And then on the 24th through the end of the year, she went to the other position. So
right.
Was she a trainer or something?
Cover driver.
Oh, yeah.
Probably training or whatever, and then to regular bus driver.
Right. So let's try this. So close this, Tim. Let's look at another little option. Go to Recalc Employees. And we talked about calculate or annualize positions.
Oh, popped up on my other screen. Oh,
I actually fixed why that's happening. Click segmented employees. And then click Recalc, and then we'll talk about that. Now we'll just see what happens to her. We can identify employees that are segmented. In other words, they have one position for part of the year and another position for the part of the year. As long as the position start and end dates coincide, we can figure out that it's a segmented position and calculate the FTE properly. Because in Oregon, FTE is based solely on work hours in the day. In Washington, it's FTE is based on work time total, which is work hours times work days. So it's in a segmented position that are both 8 hours. If they have work days that total, then that are over the position days, then it's calculated differently. But we should understand. Did it get done?
No, it's still going. I was just looking
Okay.
for if we could add the start and end date.
It's under position, model position,
right. Yeah. But that's the
It's-
positions. Okay, yeah,
but it's set based.
right.
So you have to go to the model
Model
and then
position.
position.
So I'm going to add 2 columns. So I'm going to hold the control key. Start date. Here we go. I'm going to add start date. I'm going to hold the control key, keep it held down, then add the other end date column. And then after I click it, release the control key. But it's also recalculating at the same time. So
And as you all, as you remember, there is some time investment made in establishing your fiscal base. But the nice thing, once the fiscal base is established, then you really can move forward pretty quickly in adding, moving, adjusting budgets, positions. It's establishing this fiscal base is it's kind of the starting point for your budgeting cycle.
now I realized because I annualized, those annualization days they're based on the start and end dates.
Oh, so it already moved.
So we already moved the dates.
So right click, copy from visions.
Right. It just segmented. Let's see what it does on the segment. It finished.
Yeah, because the position start and end dates were already adjusted with the
Right.
annualization, it's not going to be able until you reset it.
Okay. So what I want to do is copy from visions just this employee. So I'm going to select both of her positions, right click, copy funding from, you have choice of daily, which I don't want, or infinite visions. I'm going to copy from infinite visions. And again, just a warning that you are overriding your model. So she was annualized. So those start and end dates should revert back. And again, you have to enter a note. So I would just say copy from IV. Click apply. And we call this reconcile. You don't really see it that much often. We used to call it reconcile, but sometimes you might see it where you're reconciling one data set on top of another data set, or now we just call it copy. You're copying from one data set into another data set, usually from Infinite Visions or Business Plus into the model. Any questions so far? Everybody sure is quiet. I know I'm not doing that good of a job. I think everybody's asleep, Scott.
Okay, so mine didn't annualize on a few that I see. So did I miss a step because I was behind?
Well,
Carol.
did you check the annualized employees on the Create New Year?
I guess I did not.
Right. That must be what happened. And that's okay, because if you recalculate the employees, there'll be a checkbox there to do that. Okay, so here's Sarah. Now notice these start and end dates. Let me move the start. So to move a column, you can just click and hold and move it. So now these start and end dates. Well, that doesn't look right. Didn't it say? Oh, yeah, here we go. I was looking at the wrong one. So 9/6 to 9/23, and then starting 9/24 to 6/15.
Now, Tim, right click on her and recalc just the employee. I'm trying to see if it gives you the segment and annualize option.
It does.
Okay.
So because she's segmented, but here's the thing though, more than likely she's only going to be in this one position for next year, right?
What? No, this could be quite common for them to, as school starts, for somebody to be in one position for a portion of the time. This is a decision process that you have to make is should that position, should the 9/1 to 9/16 position, no, 9/6,
9/20.
9/6 to 9/23, should that position have been closed? If it's open, it just depends on how payroll, does things, payroll and HR. So at this point, you have to make an assumption. Yeah, that's going to be the norm for next year, or you disable the first position and annualize the second. But go ahead and click recalc. Let's see what it does.
Does that make sense to everybody? If this position is going to be there next year, it's only 14 days, but it might be there next year. She might do it again next year. You would want to keep it. Well, she's still 1.75 FTE.
Yeah. I need to look at that and find out the particulars in the employee recalc. It may not.
Well, could it be because of the column you're on, the end date is 2023?
Oh, look at that. Well, that's.
But
yeah.
Well,
but it started. It is 22. We did adjust the date, so we know we're talking about this year. And not. Oh, it's 9/23. Oh, was that Sean that saw that?
oh, right, from 23 to 22. Yep.
This should have been this. Change that to 22, Tim.
Can I change it here? Yeah. I guess
Yeah.
So. $923. 9/23/22.
Now save that. Did it change back? Make sure it stayed.
Yeah.
Okay, it
stayed.
did. Okay. And it did not know to annualize. So we'll have to do that.
But if it annualizes, will it
I mean, segment.
segment right?
And there's also a status box. You could just turn on the segment also to treat it as a segmented position. Okay, now recalculate just that employee.
If anybody's having the problems I am, things are popping up on the other monitor. We have that. We're working on that to have that fixed soon, so that it pops up in the same window where you have ESP. Like my process log keeps popping up over there. There we go. So now notice her total FTE is 0.98. Because she was at 6 hours.
And you now have a different glyph instead of the annualized glyph. It's kind of a green horizontal T indicating that it's segments.
Right. Right. So if the position and end dates are where they work one area for one date and then another area for another date, when you recalculate, click segment and it will correctly adjust for that. This other little icon, it's hard to see, I know, not the little T, but the little arrows pointing into each other. That means that we copied They were copied from Infinite Visions into the model, just so you could quickly identify the positions that had that happen. But Scott, why is it bold like that? Is that something we're doing?
I think to indicate budgeted positions are bolded too, right? If you actually refresh and see if the bolding sticks. Yeah, I don't know why it did a partial reload.
Well, because we just did recalc employee, maybe that's why. There we go. Okay, it went away
Yeah,
after the
okay.
refresh. Any questions about segmenting?
We'll
Maybe we
figure, I
should-
put a note down here to figure out why we shouldn't have adjusted. It looks like the logic was we just add a year to everything, but that's not necessarily true if the position end date doesn't actually go into the next year. So I put a note down to check that logic.
Right,
But sans that, it worked as it should.
right.
And hover over the grid or the tree tooltip and see if it actually says segmented position now.
Now, I see someone who has a start date of 8/30/2023 and an end date in 2024. I see a whole bunch of them.
Is that Mary?
This is Carol.
Oh, Carol.
When I added this position start and end, mine say 23 and 24 instead of 22 and 23.
Does anybody else see that? A position start and position end?
Maybe she created a new year off the new year. She's already into,
I'm not that far ahead.
you're 2 years ahead of
Yeah,
everybody.
Carol, let me, I'll connect with you on that.
One thing that I like to do when I'm looking at employees for this kind of validation is on my scope, I don't want it broken out by any levels. I just want one long list of all the employees. So if on the employees, if you sum to the very top, no summing, it'll just give you one list of all the employees alphabetically. I think for this type of validation, it might be easier way to do it. Again, with the process log, let me find out which one it was. This one where you have all these action items. Don't forget, you can always save to spreadsheet right here. Just click on that, save it to a spreadsheet so that you know, because you probably need to look into all of these employees. Anybody have any questions about these? So we have some employees that they're not on a salary plan, but they have FTE. These over 1.0 FTEs. These are people that are vacant positions that for some reason they're on a salary plan, but they have $0.
Yeah, their vacant positions are sometimes not created with a salary schedule. And that's, if you look, it's the same group up above, missing salary plan as zero salary. And see, you see the vacant positions once they're all
Right.
just duplicated.
Yep.
So you'll have to, the first thing to do on that is decide, is this a valid vacant position? If it's not, then you can deactivate it. If it is a valid vacant position, either go in and manually change the salary plan so there is a plan so they can actually calculate salary, or go back into visions and set the position to where it has a salary plan assignment. Now,
Right.
there are situations where everybody doesn't go on a salary plan. And there's some districts that use what we call ranged plans, which means there is no assignment. It's just a fixed dollar amount. And we don't have enough time to talk about that, but we probably should talk about how to create, well, Tim, real quick, go to the salary plans. Let's just,
Before
we
you
can
go
cover-
before you go there, Scott, I just wanted you to know I added the start and end dates, and mine are also 23 to 24.
Okay, well, that should be an easy problem to solve then. I will look at that as soon as we get done here and see if I can fix that. Tim, right, this is another problem that I noted. It says active, but it's not hiding. So set the scope and select active, and then click OK. It'll refilter that. Some of these little things they keep, I think we keep getting them fixed and they keep recurring. So let's say we've got an administrator, open up the administration salary schedule. You instead of having everybody forced to be on a plan, grade, and step, or schedule row column is how Visions calls it. Washington might be a lane and step. Whatever the three segments are, if you wanted to create a ranged step, we used to call them step zeros because they were at the bottom of the scale, and it really allows you to just key in a salary. Right click right on the admin on the salary schedule there, and then say create add ranged grade. And in this case, administrators are what, 1113s. So change the object to 1113. 0113, I'm sorry.
Awesome.
Yeah, okay. And what this does, you can see the note used to assign range plan to positions loaded without a plan. So if you set this up and there is a mask in there, click OK. Then if during employee reloading, if a valid position comes in without a salary schedule and the account code includes object 0113, it will automatically put them on this range or salary plan 100. And it knows how to manage the salary on the employee grid. The salary will actually become editable because it does not rely on a salary schedule. And go ahead and click on the employees, and we don't want to save those changes yet. So click no. Then instead of where the stepping glyph is, you'll see an R right there, indicating that they're on a range salary schedule. So,
and this annual rate right here will be editable.
Correct.
Because this is coming from the salary plans. We'll talk about that tomorrow, where this number comes from. But this comes from the salary plans and how it's based on the hourly rate of the salary plan times the employees' work days times their work hours. Is how we get to the annual rate.
Would you use that if you had an administrator who is redlined at a certain?
Yes. Yeah, if they've maxed out and you just, see, a lot of people don't realize that Visions does support range salary plans. And basically it's you don't actually have to assign a salary schedule row and column to a position, that it can be just a floating or a ranged amount. And we can now support that using the step zero or the range salary schedules.
But if it's only like an individual and not a whole salary plan?
Correct. But a lot of times because they don't understand that, they create these one-off salary schedules for a certain position. And the benefit of creating the range zero is that you can still apply a COLA then. And it will apply the COLA to their base amount.
So because I had all my employees just in one list, I was able to sort on the salary FTE total. and find all of my employees that are over 1 FTE. And it might, I'm looking at the position start and end dates. It could be that they need to be segmented as well. If you notice, these names here are the same names that I had on my process log that told me about the over 1.0 FTEs.
Yeah, and that's why I talked about upcoming enhancements. I want you to be able to double click on those records in the employee audit and actually take you right to that employee.
Yeah. So yeah, here's one, Tran Ka, 8:30 to 11:14, and then a new position at 11:15. So this one would need to be, I would need to copy back over into the model. And
Well,
then
first have to decide, is it valid or did
Right,
it just
yeah.
change? What did he get promoted? Look at the plan code is the same. So that would indicate he's just segmented. Actually, the account code's the same also. So that's usually you'll see on a segmented position, an account code and or the salary plan code changes. So this would require some investigation and figure out what was the intention and why did they move and why does he still have multiple open positions?
So that's basically what is involved just to get your new year started as far as the employees go. It's a lot of investigation. So it went from, it looks like it went from teaching first grade to teaching 5th grade.
Yeah,
So is that
did the pay type code change? Scroll over to the right. Teacher, special licensed teacher. Oh, the position changed.
Yeah,
The position changed. So that was probably a mid-year change that they just didn't close because a classroom change isn't logically something that's going to happen each year. So that's probably you would deactivate the earlier position and then annualize the second position. But
right. So real quick, a way to we're gonna close up here. To inactivate, you just right click and select inactivate. Basically, it keeps their name there, but it's just going to gray them out and it'll take the values out of the model. And then you would want to annualize, but he is annualized already, the work days, because you want, always remember where this is for what we expect to happen next year, 22, 23. Okay, any question? Oh, go ahead.
One comment, again, the goal in this establishing your fiscal base, if the intent is to clean things up, best practice would be to go in and have payroll or HR change that position and then reload your employees and copy.
Right.
That way you get everything in sync and everybody's happy.
So we'll talk more. Yeah, go
I have
ahead.
2 questions real fast.
Yep.
One, when you annualize this, because I'm seeing on this person that you have there, the Ka and the Mindy Peterson below, when you annualize it, did it change that position end date to 2023? Because it's the same thing that was like in the blue column. So because it's the same thing with Tran. It went from 11/14/2022 to changed it to 11/14/2023. When you click annualize, did that automatically default to doing that?
Yes, it will adjust the model position end dates.
Okay.
And that could be where the math is wrong.
Yeah.
Everybody who's got 23, 24s in there, I need to figure out where it went awry. Was it the loading and the copying, or was it in, well, was that Sean talking?
Yes.
Sean, do you have the blue start and end position?
Well, I don't have anything. I was
Okay.
just following along.
So what we'll do is we'll have to investigate, because if the blue Infinite Visions dates are right and they say 22 and 23, then it was the annualization process that screwed them up.
Okay.
But we'll fix that. That's a database fix, so that's something simple.
Okay. And then the second question I had was on your process log there. Do you have an exception log that would pull up just this action item data?
Go to-
Or,
Go to tools, employees, audit employees. I'm going to change that to validate employees instead of audit.
If you run this, it will just run those checks that is
Go ahead
done.
and click it, Tim. Yeah, it doesn't take that long.
Right.
And there are that object, that checkbox include all validations. There's some validations that this will do that aren't done automatically during the scenario recalc.
okay.
And
No,
now,
okay.
and now you can save the spreadsheet. Tim, go ahead and click save the spreadsheet.
And you'll get this pop-up too, telling you that there's some actions.
Yeah, we pop that up for you every time just to annoy you, so you'll go fix them.
Yeah, well, I'm sure I'm gonna have a lot of them.
Okay, when I did that, I only got a scenario audit for the person that was, the row that was highlighted.
Is that Mary?
It's Carol.
Oh, Carol. Really?
She must have selected audit employee.
Is that an option?
I don't know. It sounds like it. Employees.
Employees. Oh, yes, you click audit, show audit log instead of audit employees. See, I'm going to change it to validate. Did you click the show audit, Carol?
Anyway, it does all the employees if you do audit employees.
Yeah. Click on show audit, Tim. This is every change that's made.
Oh, that's this audit, yeah.
Yeah, we keep track of those comments, and so you can actually go back in and see the history of what's been changed on an employee record, on a budget financial record, on any of the assumptions. Pretty much any object or any time you have to apply changes, there's going to be an audit that you can actually look back and find out when it was changed, who it was changed by, the comments that were put in. So the comments are actually useful when you're doing this, instead of just saying, okay, good to go, or 10 dots. Responsibility center managers can figure out the 10 dots suffices the 10 character rule. But there's so many times that we can go back and use this audit to find out why somebody changed something. And the comments are just, nonsense. And so they totally forgot why they did something. So there is a purpose for those comments, because we go to bed and sleep at night, and sometimes we forget why we did things, which is the total intent of the audit and why we save comments to every session. So with that, I think we'll let you all go.
Fire off an email, or if you have any questions about your employees or the new year, we can talk about them tomorrow. But basically, we've given you the homework that you got to do for your new year scenario. So, all right, everybody, thank you very much, and we'll talk to you everyone tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have
Bye-bye.
one more second?
Sure.
I think Kim had planned to be on the afternoon. And so if it's still the dates like this, I need to warn her. So is this something you'll be able to fix before then?
So on the dates,
Yeah.
I'm going to look at it right now, Carol.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Yep.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye.